we're growing up as a species. We now don't believe that God's looking down on us.
Well,
I mean,
a lot of us don't.
a lot of us don't believe God is looking down on us. Okay, here we go. One more point. Point 6. Okay, so the point begins with Yahweh. So what Edinger is saying now is Yahweh represents the self, and Yahweh sees in Job the ego and equal power. Keeping in mind that Edinger's idea is this ego-self axis, right? And that's in this book, I think. Let's see. Okay, so Edinger's big thing is the ego and the self are pushing
See, the only
back
trouble I
and
have
forth.
with that diagram is like, if you were to put the ego there, and here was the self, in the graphic, there would also be a dark shaded area behind the ego that would be the shadow, and those would move in and through.
Right. Okay. So you need that too,
Yeah.
and
then
of
there's
course
still
the
another
ego
issue.
is subsumed under the self when you're born. That's Yahweh. That's the infant who has the ego within the self, and it's only after getting corrected during potty training going on after that that the ego breaks loose from the self and starts to think about things. Okay, so anyway, Yahweh projects onto Job a skeptic's face, which is hateful to him because it is his own, and which gazes at him with an uncanny and critical eye. He is afraid of it, for only in face of something frightening does one let off a cannonade of references to one's power, cleverness, courage, invincibility, etc. Okay, so the bully, right?
Or it's the little kid standing on the hill with the towel tied on him with like a cape.
Right. Well, sure it is, but yeah, but it is the bully, and and so Edinger's referring back to those 71 verses where Yahweh is saying, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. Well, okay, the president can fly to Mar-a-Lago every week.
Who was it that said he's the boy's image of a man and a man's image of a boy? I thought that was the most West summing, up of this guy.
Right. Okay, so Job is challenged as though he himself were a god. This is paragraph 594 now. Edinger says, Job is challenged as though he himself were a god. But at this point in time, there is no other god but Satan, who Yahweh must hide from himself. Because of his close kinship as son, he must be concealed with utmost discretion, even to the point of God hiding him from his own consciousness in his own bosom. Okay, Satan is part of God, and God has to hide Satan from himself. So therefore, Satan is the shadow, right? In his stead, God must set up his miserable servant as the bugbear. And bugbear is an imaginary figure used to frighten children, okay? So in his stead, God must set up his miserable servant as the bugbear, who he has to fight, in the hope that by banishing the dreaded countenance to the hidden place, he will be able to maintain himself in a state of unconsciousness, right? So Yahweh wants to stay unconscious. He doesn't want to have to deal with Satan and the fact. So, this goes all the way back to the very early group meetings we were having where you kept pushing me about the shadow. And this is the thing. Yeah, most of us want to try to be unconscious of the shadow. But because then if you're conscious of it, now you have to make ethical decisions. Now you have to make real decisions.
So you have two choices. You can either go with the moral point of view,
which
is
the law,
an unconscious thing because you're just following the law,
right? which
or
is
you can violate it because you have the independence to violate it.
right.
Okay, and so many people are in the unconscious state where they're only recognizing the moral law.
Right. And so in terms of the development of human consciousness now, obviously there were problems in early Judaism. Okay, I looked it up, and the Exodus was about 1,200 years before Christ, right? And so at that time, there must have been a lot of stuff going on in society, right? So Moses comes up with the 10 big laws, right? The 10 Commandments. And so that's the Jewish Dispensation.